If there's one thing you know about me is I love a good scandal or some controversy in the world of video games because it's fun to talk about. And today we're going to be talking about one of the biggest controversies from a brand new game that just released a couple days ago, but it's absolutely taken the world by storm. I, of course, am talking about Palworld. Now, Palworld released in a beta state on Xbox Game Pass, and it's also available on Steam in an early state of the game as well. But overnight, this game took over the world. There's over 1 million people playing the game at once. Over 4 million people have bought the game on PC. It was available on Game Pass as well. It's essentially a game in which, there's some Pokemon influence in it. There's 100 different creatures in the world called pals that you have to basically try and capture. You do that by battling them and then getting them in a little pal ball thing. There's a lot of resource gathering and crafting in the game as well. You're constantly building stuff. You can make the pals work for you as well to gather different resources. You're constantly leveling up and trying to build more stuff. There's PvP elements in the game and PvE stuff in the game. It's a game that has a long way to go before it's actually a game and like something that's gonna really be huge. But I don't even think it matters anymore because the game has probably sold well beyond what the team anticipated it was going to sell in just a matter of a few days. Now, where does the controversy come into the game? Well, there's a couple different controversies. First and foremost, let me just say this. I've played Palworld for about 3 hours and I did not like it. I don't think it's fun. I'm not a big fan of resource gathering and building my own stuff. I don't like the combat in the game. I think it's very stale and boring. Now, the Xbox version, which is what I played on Game Pass, allegedly that's like a few builds behind the PC version. So supposedly the PC version is a little bit more polished, but just navigating through the menus and stuff like that, it's a very cumbersome experience. And if I would have paid money for this, I would have been like severely disappointed. But I can understand why people like this game, and I'm not going to try and rain on anyone else's parade. I'm just being open and honest with you guys that the gameplay is not for me. Now, some people are complaining, the Pokemon community, in fact, are complaining about the fact that this game feels like it takes a lot of inspiration, we'll say, from various Pokemon designs. And this has become a whole huge thing where Pokemon fans are like, nah, they copied Pokemon and they made it a bad game or something like that. I don't really know. Like, Pokemon fans shouldn't be talking any sort of trash about any game, considering how Scarlet and Violet came out. Like, at least this runs a little bit better than those games did, and those games ever will. As far as taking inspiration for the designs, I mean, maybe, but this isn't the first Pokemon clone to ever come out. What about Digimon? Does anybody remember Digimon, Digital Monsters? Like, that was a thing that came out right alongside of Pokemon. There's been all sorts of games where you capture weird creatures, Dragon Quest monsters. Like, this isn't exactly a new concept. So, all because some designs look similar, I don't necessarily think that's indicative of theft. So what's the controversy then? Look, I had to lay out all that groundwork before we got any actual controversy. Well, it seems like a hot word in the video game, in the world right now, but especially in the video game industry, is the word AI, because AI is, the computers are coming. Nobody watched Terminator 2 because they're idiots, and the computers are coming. Okay, people are scared that they're gonna take jobs. They're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. They can do writing, they can do animation, they could do character creation. AI is a very powerful tool, and we're just in its infancy. So now we're seeing all this sort of backlash towards AI. And probably rightfully so. As a consumer, you might kind of overlook it, but there's a lot of dangers that are going on with this. And really, I mean, man, it just doesn't seem like a good idea to me, the whole AI revolution, but it's here. We waited too long. It's already here and people are already using it. Now, people are accusing Palworld of using AI in order to generate their PAL characters and potentially generate parts of their game. Because when you look at the studio behind the game, there's some very interesting stuff. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to delve into with this. So this is a Twitter thread made by Zetri. I'm not familiar with them or anything like that. It seems like they do Twitch or something like that. But they made some interesting discoveries, and then I did some looking at things on my own and found some very interesting things about this game. So Pocket Pair is the name of the company behind Palworld, and Pocket Pair actually has a game called AI Art Imposter that uses AI in the game when you play it. There's a video clip here of how it works. You basically put in some commands and then it generates AI images within the game. Now, within the confines of the game, you know, who cares? That's kind of the appeal of the game. That's sort of the gameplay loop of the game. But when you look at the larger scale of things, it's like, well, how many people work at this company? You know, if you're designing 100 different PAL characters and you did it in a pretty timely manner and you're creating these 3D worlds and stuff, like this company, Pocket Pair, you know, they seem a little bit more advanced than some of these other companies that have been around for a very long time. They seem more advanced than the Pokemon Company in some regards, and the Pokemon Company has been around for a very long time. So people started to raise eyebrows about this. They go on to say how the CEO of Pocket Pair was talking about AI to bypass copyright, generating fake mons with calling it AI Art Imposter, a real-time image generation game, and being excited for games powered by GPT-4. Now, supposedly, this was in response to a thread, I think it was done by BuzzFeed, where they were making fake Pokemon, and this is what they were referring to in it. But even taking away like that aspect of it and not even looking at it, you've already made a game that utilizes AI and generates images with AI. You go along scrolling here, there's a very interesting interview that, man. So in this interview, they go on to say that a recent graduate was hired to design for them, and they were quickly able to pump out 100 designs they needed and make alterations as needed. And it's in this blog post here. So I've looked over this blog post, and really that wasn't even the thing that really like bothered me the most about this blog post. There was some other very interesting stuff in here as well. All right, so this is essentially a blog post in which they tell kind of the story about like Palworld and how it became to be, you know, how they got into the games industry and what they're doing within the industry. But I found some very interesting things here. So they're talking about one of their previous games called Craftopia, which I'll put up a trailer of it right now and you can kind of look at it to essentially get a feel for what this game is. And I'll just read to you what is said in here. Until now, I had never properly created a 3D model in-house. At Craftopia, most of the 3D models were purchased as assets. And in order to move a 3D model, motion is required. Craftopia also purchased and used motion as an asset, so I wasn't too concerned about it. So essentially, what Pocket Pair is saying here is that a lot of the stuff you see in Craftopia was just purchased assets that were being repurposed for this game. One of the things that I felt when playing this game immediately was some of these assets felt like very generic purchased assets. They didn't feel like developed by anyone with any sort of passion. It was just sort of something that you could take and then automatically implement into your game. Now, that's a whole debate for another day, whether that's ethical or not. Like, I don't think inherently it's a bad thing, but I think that you should do something to the asset to potentially make it your own, like maybe change up some things about it. But when you play this game, you definitely get that feeling when you're walking around in that initial area that, like, okay, these don't really feel like created things out of love and passion and stuff like that. But hey, you know what? It's it is what it is, I guess. So then they go on for Miracle 3, created over 100 monsters. There was no one in the company with experience in motion. But hey, you know what? They figured it out because some guy, Mr. Adachi, randomly popped up, was the man. He was a veteran motion designer with a lot of experience, and he was very interested, and he knew what to do. So bam, we're good. We're good on the motion front now. You know, no problems here, no issues here. But what about the creation of the characters themselves? Because there's a lot of miracles that went on with this, and, you know, miracles or something. They've changed engines in the game as well, even though it's using Unreal Engine. A new graduate who was rejected during the document screening ended up in the most important position. So let's scroll down and read this. So they ended up getting the work with Palworld, but as soon as we worked together, I realized that he was a formidable talent. She doesn't like I don't know if it's he or she because the pronouns pronouns get messed up in the translation. But as soon as we worked together, I realized, we'll just say they were a formidable talent. They don't like to use the word genius, but they might be a genius. They have a talent that is at least rare. They are a frighteningly sharp knife. First of all, it is incredibly fast. I guess they are incredibly fast at drawing. It's the fastest I've ever seen. If you're bad at it, it's 4 or 5 times faster. So this mystery person happened to come along and be like, hey, I could freaking draw up these pals in the game for you. No problem. We can get this ball rolling and we can make this magic happen. And yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of questions that I have about this, and I think that's where a lot of people lie, because I don't think we'll ever get a concrete answer as to whether or not, you know, Palworld is using AI assets, and, you know, the pals were created with AI and the game is using purchased assets or something like that. You might get little, you know, quips here and there about it, but I don't think we'll ever get a definitive answer. But I will say a lot of these things do raise a lot of eyebrows. Now, you know, coincidences can happen. You know, we can't sit here and say that, you know, a guardian angel doesn't exist if you've been someone who's experienced a guardian angel moment, because, I mean, I actually have in life. Couple times, really. I probably should be long gone by now. So I'm not going to try and discredit that, but I do find it a bit odd. I could say odd because that's a nice general word. I do find it very unique that all of these pieces, all of these people just happen to come along at the right time, especially when you have a game that used AI creation before, and you've admitted to purchasing assets and motion assets and using them in game off of storefronts and just repackaging it and using it as your own. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but kind of the sum of all the parts does make an interesting situation. But then we have to get to the other question is, should the consumer really care? You know, if someone's having fun playing the game and they're enjoying the game, does it matter that it was made by AI? Should that diminish someone's enjoyment of the game? Like, who's to say? You know, people are going to have varying opinions on this, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because I want to hear all opinions about this. You know, do you care if a game is made using AI or generated assets based on AI, or purchasing assets and using them in their own game instead of creating something from the ground up? Does the creation of the game matter, or does the final product matter? And that's what you're interested in. And there's no right or wrong answer either. I don't want to see anyone, you know, shaming someone because they don't necessarily care. They care about the final product, and, you know, other people care about the process that is used to make it. There's no right or wrong answer here. I just want to hear some answers, because I think this is a conversation we're going to be having for years to come, and who knows? Maybe RGT is an AI after all. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Share this video around. Let's get this going. People are going to be interested in this topic. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.